So this portion of the Week 7 Design Challenge is going to see you assemble this rack and pinion that is composed of laser cut parts and a 3D printed servo mount holder. So the first thing we're going to do is go into Onshape and see how to prepare these laser cut parts for laser cutting, and then we'll come back and see how to actually assemble everything together. So as we saw earlier in the video, this portion of the Week 7 assignment has you developing a laser cut part and then assembling it together to create a rack and pinion assembly. So the first thing we need to do is get the parts ready to be laser cut out. To do that, we'll go to Import. We're going to Insert New tab, hit Import. I'll go to my Downloads. This file is available on the Week 7 assignment page. So for the rack and pinion part of the assignment, this file is on that page, so you can go download it. When you have it downloaded, import it into Onshape, just like I'm doing here. It'll import and it'll make a new tab at the bottom called the FYE Rack Pinion Laser Cut. We're not going to do anything with this tab. We're going to go back to the Part Studio. We'll do a new sketch, so we'll click on Sketch. I'm going to click on the front plane, and then up here at the top, there's a tool that says Insert DXF or DWG. We're going to click that. Make sure it says the current document, and then we'll click on the FYE Rack Pinion Laser Cut DXF. Hit that check mark. Hit this check mark again to finish the sketch. Click on front, and now we have a sketch of the rack and pinion you're going to assemble. The next thing we need to do is extrude these sketches to make them three-dimensional. So we'll go up here to the extrude tool, move this out of the way, and I'm going to click on everything that I want to extrude. So click on this, click on this, click on this, click on this. Make sure the holes are not being extruded. Click on this, click on this, click on this gear. Make sure this inner hole here is not being extruded. And same thing with this small hole here. So make sure there's a hole, there's a slot, and there's 4 holes in each of these bottom parts. So when you have everything selected, come down here where it says depth, change that from 1 inch to 0.125 inches, solely because that is the thickness of the plywood we're using. And then hit check. So now all of our parts have been 3D modeled. So you can see they actually have depth to them now. So now we'll prepare these to be laser cut. To do that, we'll go down to the plus again, click on Create Drawing, leave it as ANSI A inch, hit OK. I'm going to close out of these for a second. So this is a drawing file. This is where we can take three-dimensional drawings and put them in top-down view and get them ready for laser cutting. The first thing I'm going to do is just get rid of this title box in the bottom right corner, solely because we don't need it for the laser cutter. Again, if you were doing actual engineering jobs where you were drawing things for a customer, you'd want this drawing box so you keep track of who was drawing, what revisions were made, and so on. But in this case, since we're laser cutting, we're just going to delete it. Get rid of this last little bit. Now that we have a blank template, we'll go back to the Insert. So this button right here which says Insert View. Click Insert, and then we'll start bringing in each of the parts we're going to laser cut. So part 1, change the scale from 2:1 to 1:1, and then put it wherever you want to in the drawing template. Onshape will try and do side views and isometric views of the part we're putting in. We don't need that for the laser cutter, so we'll just hit Escape. I'm also going to click on this gear, right click, and go to Show Hide, Hide Auto Center Marks. Get rid of those marks on the hole there. And so we'll go back, insert again, go get the other part, part 2, bring it in. Now it defaults to 1:1. So we'll click it again. I'll actually put it up here. Click where you want, and then hit Escape. And then repeat the process. Bring in every part we need. So now we need part 3. Hit Escape. Bring in part 4. Hit Escape. Part 5. Hit escape. We're going to do the same thing. Click on this, right click, show hide, hide auto center marks. Part 6 now. Click on it again, right click, show hide, hide auto center marks. Part 7. Hit escape, click, right click, show hide, hide auto center marks. And then one more part. Part 8. And we will have to hide those center marks one more time. So we'll click on it, right click, show hide, hide auto center marks. So now we have 8 parts all ready to be sent over to the laser cutter. To get this ready to go to the laser cutter, come down here to drawing 1, right click, export, name it whatever you want, export it as a PDF, and then that PDF is then ready to be brought into Adobe Illustrator and prepared for the laser cutter. And now we'll go and look and see how to actually assemble the rack and pinion together. So when you get done laser cutting, you'll have these 8 parts. You'll have the 2 gears, these 4 parts with the holes in them, and then the actual rack, with the bar with the teeth on them. In addition to this, you'll need a servo mount, which you should be given by your instructor. If not, if you want to print one yourself, you can. You've already made this. You made this in week 4, but every instructor should have enough for each team to have one. Also in your kit that you were given by your instructor, you should have a 1/4 inch dowel, which you'll need to assemble this. You also need to cut this dowel, but there are tools in the classroom or the Innovation Center to cut this dowel. You'll assemble your rack and pinion like shown here. So your gears, your rack, your front and your back, and then the 2 smaller little pieces of wood at the bottom. So it effectively goes the larger piece, the 2 smaller pieces go on the bottom. They serve as a rail for the rack to sit on, and then the smaller piece up front. Assemble something like that. The servo mount lines up with the 2 holes in the back. You'll run a dowel through the servo mount, through these pieces of wood, glue it all together, and then you'll put a dowel at each of the ends of the holes. So you have 4 dowels in this holding together. You'll also go ahead and glue the rack together. So you have 2 pieces of rack. You just glue them together using wood glue or super glue or whatever glue you have. And then, of course, you'll take the 2 gears and glue them together as well to line up the teeth and get them all glued together. One thing to note with the gear is when you have it glued together, there's a nice slot in the back that is designed for the servo horn to fit on. So in each of your kits, you should have servos, and there should be these plastic horns. They're either white or black, depending on what servo you have. They're the same size, just different color. To make it fit in the slot, trim off the ends of the servo horn to make it fit in the actual slot. You can use scissors, a knife, wire cutters, whatever you do to be safe. Make sure you don't cut yourself, but you'll trim off the excess to make it fit in a slot, and then glue this into that slot and make sure to align this hole that goes on the servo with the hole on the gear. When you have everything glued together, you can put your servo into your mount. There's 2 screws that go into the servo. These are the flat pan head screws, and then there's a smaller screw in the bag of your servo that holds the actual gear onto the servo that goes into the servo mount that is then glued into the back of your gear. So all in all, get your laser cut parts, cut your dowels using the saws in the classroom or in the Innovation Center, glue everything together, screw your servo in to the servo mount holder, and then screw your gear onto your servo, and then you'll have a rack and pinion that moves with the servo. When you're done with that, take a picture of this assembled and submit that as your portion of the week 7 assignment.